The new trailer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 was released yesterday, and it gave us a glimpse into what to expect for the second season's release this June. We got to witness Spock in the captain's chair, Kirk's apparent difficulty with doors, whatever that's about, and most interestingly, a glimpse of what the Klingons of the show will be like. We got some awesome shots of Spock interacting with several Klingons, and drinking what is almost certainly not Ractigino, based on Spock's reaction. I definitely wasn't expecting to see Spock and Klingons drinking blood wine in this trailer, but there you go. Even less was I expecting to see bumpy-headed, non-Discovery Klingons in the trailer. I literally released a video 10 days ago talking about the Klingons and their variants of appearance throughout the chronological timeline of Star Trek, as portrayed in the various shows and films. And in that video I said this:
I really hope someday we get an official answer for the discrepancy of their appearance as presented in Discovery. Perhaps Strange New Worlds will explain why the Klingons of this era look so different and don't fit the chronological timeline of Klingon appearances.
And it seems I may have been right, as Strange New Worlds has given us Klingons with a more familiar appearance. But will Strange New Worlds actually address the change in appearance of the Klingons? Well, time will tell, I suppose, as we will have an answer by June when the show releases. I'm hoping they give us some kind of explanation for the difference, but as I've learned with many of these newer Trek shows, lowering expectations going into them is a good idea. They may just not address it at all, which would be a real shame in my opinion. But until then, when it releases, we can only speculate as to what will occur. And that's what I intend to do, as based on what we now know, I can answer the question of does Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 Klingons help to fix the varying and inconsistent Klingon appearance, or not? And the answer to that question, at least for now, is a complicated one. Let's take a look at the now revised timeline with the biology of Klingons in the various eras notated. First, we have the raised cranial Klingons in Enterprise in the 2150s, who contracted a disease, and the cure removed their cranial ridges, resulting in the smooth heads, which had originally perfectly led into Star Trek the original series, where they were presented too as having the smooth heads. But that is not the case anymore, because fast-forwarding nearly a century in the timeline, and we all of a sudden have the weird Discovery Klingons that are so utterly alien. I didn't mention it in my original video, but they do change slightly in appearance between Seasons 1 and 2. I mean, they're still very alien in Season 2, but at least in the Season 2 appearance, the minor upgrades and differences, their oblong-shaped heads are slightly less pronounced. Jumping another roughly 6 months ahead of the Disco Klingons, and, well, we have bumpy head Klingons again, like from Enterprise, which is odd, considering that they are supposed to be smooth-headed at this time. Approximately 7 years later in the original series, and they once again, at this point, have the bronze-skinned eyebrows, smooth-headed look. Then this leads into the motion picture and TNG DS9 Voyager, where the Klingons again are bumpy-headed like in Enterprise. One other thing I forgot to mention in my original video talking about Klingons biology is that in the cartoon show Lower Decks, set in 2380, we see both Discovery Klingons and the normal bumpy-headed TNG Klingons, which did lend further proof to my theory from that video that the odd Discovery Klingons are in fact a subspecies of baseline Klingons, and were part of a much smaller population, which Lower Decks pretty much confirms because we see them both existing at the same time. And thanks to Lower Decks, we do know that the Discovery Klingons exist all the way up until the 2300s. Now back to the Strange New Worlds bumpy head Klingons. Based on the new revised Klingon biology appearance timeline, we now have some glaring questions. How in a mere 6-month window did Klingons appear suddenly more normal? Where did Disco Klingons go? How were there normal bumpy-headed Klingons at a time where they are supposed to be smooth-headed? And how are they going to explain away the bumpy-head Klingons into smooth-headed Klingons again in the span of 7 years, rather than the 100-year gap originally offered by Enterprise? I really hope Strange New Worlds will explain these new questions. Perhaps the Klingons in the trailer are actually smooth-headed and wearing fake craniums that they will take off and reveal that they're smooth-headed at some point in the show. When I originally saw the trailer, I was really excited because I thought the more familiar design of Klingons was awesome and great for the timeline. Which, don't get me wrong, it is still awesome that we will get to see more familiar Klingons again, as opposed to the weirdness of Discovery. But does this new design in Strange New Worlds fix the Klingon timeline? No. I think if anything it complicates it further. But who knows? Perhaps the show will have an awesome explanation that makes it all make sense. We can only hope. I mean, Captain Pike interacted with several disco Klingons in Discovery, so surely the captain will note the vast change in appearance of the Klingons now, right? You can't not address it. I think the best thing this does is end the argument some folks make, that the disco Klingons look normal in-universe, but are just stylized differently out-of-universe for the audience. This shows that this is not the case by presenting these Klingons as more familiar Klingons, and that the disco Klingons are very clearly distinct and different looking even in-universe. I wasn't expecting to make a new Klingon Biology video so soon after the last one, but with the new news from the trailer, I figured I would talk about it. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 is going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the explanation, if any, that they give. Until then, though, is the Klingons' chronological biology timeline fixed? No. I think if anything, it is definitely further muddied. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.